We just got back from our first bike packing trip with kids and wanted to share what we went through so others can do the same kind of journey. So we went 100 miles in a matter of 3 days. So we were tenting for 2 nights and we did 100 miles from New Paltz, New York, all the way through New York City, over the George Washington Bridge into New Jersey. It was quite an adventure, and yeah, just wanted to kind of explain the journey, show you the trails, and yeah. So I went to EmpireStateTrail.org and I found the trail from New Paltz to New York City. It was about 100 miles. We did 35 miles the first day, 40 miles the second day, and about 35 miles the third day. So in total, about 100 miles. And so we had our parents actually drop off in 2 vehicles, all the bikes. They left us in New Paltz. So it was me and my wife and our 3 kids, and then my brother and his wife tagged along with their 9-month-old. We each had very different setups, so I'll go into how we set up our bikes in a little bit. Even though we did this over an extended 3-day weekend, you want to really think about the gear you're bringing, especially when you're bringing along kiddos. So we really had to intentionally think about the mounts we were going to use for our kids to ride along with us. We had to think about, carrying enough, for a family of 5, I carried it pretty much all on my bike, including a tent, sleeping bag, sleeping mats. We even had a pop-up crib for our little one. We'll go more into what we brought in. I have some photos and video of that. But yeah, the journey was cool. New Paltz was probably one of the more rougher areas, very hilly. But once we got out of New Paltz, it was all kind of just paved roads from there. There was maybe 5% of our entire 100-mile journey was unpaved, or at least off a trail. And by trail, I mean a lot of these trails are following the railroads that used to exist, and they built nice pathways, paved pathways alongside. We weren't on gravel, we weren't on grass or dirt. It was nice paved pavement. And there's the little ones sleeping on the Wii rides. So the little ones all use these front-mounted Wii rides. There's my little one sleeping on it, and that's how they kind of took naps. It wasn't the easiest. The napping was probably the hardest part of the whole journey. Oh, and there's a image of food. We didn't carry in any food. We just kind of cooked. We just bought on the go. And we had snacks, throughout the day, and I had some fruit and things. But for the meals, we pretty much just ate out because it was simpler. When you're bike packing, you're kind of limited on the gear, especially since all our kids aren't really biking on their own, can't really carry their own gear. There's the kids sleeping in the tent. There's, the sleeping mats. The kids definitely enjoyed the trip, but it was definitely challenging. Here's a clip of my son when I asked him, "Do you want to do this again or keep going?" Are you ready to do another 40 miles today on the bike?
No.
No. What are we going to do with that? What are we going to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? You guys look tired, all of you. What's Mama doing?
She's inside the tent.
Yeah, so here's a quick look through of all the gear. You can see our headlights, all the water bottles. We carried 4 Nalgene's with us on top of 1 water bottle on each of our bikes that we had on hand, as well as a 1.5-liter Camelback that is for boys, actually, that Valen, our 6-year-old, carried on his own back. And that was great because he could feed the other ones when we took little stops, because they love playing with that bite valve. Yeah, other than that, we did have some spare tools for, repairing the bike. I brought a spare tube if, something popped. Luckily, we didn't have any incidents, mechanical hardware failures on the whole 100-mile journey for all 4 of our bikes. And yeah, was able to carry pretty much everything with 2 rear panniers and 2 front panniers. I'll have links to all our gear in the description. But it worked out really well. It was a very heavy load, especially since I was carrying almost all of it on my singular bike for all 5 of us. But it was very doable. But yeah, if you did want to significantly reduce the load you need to carry, you don't even need the panniers if you stay in like motels. Because honestly, 3/4 of our gear was, just the tent, the sleeping bags, the sleeping mats, all that stuff. So if you weren't tenting and you just did motel to motel, you would be so much lighter. And if that was the case, I'd probably bring a road bike like my brother and his wife did. They had road bikes. They were outpacing us because we had like kind of standard hybrid bikes, and they were a lot heavier, a lot slower. But, it was definitely an experience to go bike packing, to actually just like tent where you wanted. I will say though, the Empire State Trail that we were on, does have like tenting alongside it, but when you get from New Paltz to New York City, there's really no camping. There's like one campsite, but that booked out. But yeah, there's so many accommodations along the route. There's a lot of towns that you pass through, so you can just make reservations and then do this a lot lighter than we did. And that's something that we're thinking about if we ever do this again is, we did the bike packing thing already. We know we can do it. So maybe just do a smoother, easier trip that we can go faster in on without carrying all that luggage. So to talk about the mounts we use, I talked about that WeRide. There it is, the front mount for the infants. And then we had the trailer that you saw that Alvin, our 4-year-old, was riding on. It just hitches to the to the bike seat, and he has his own hand grips, but he can't steer. He can just pedal, so that was good. Here's us eating at a restaurant, waiting out the rain, which didn't really end. So we ended up, have the bicycle in the rain, and then we found this site right along the side of the road. We were kind of like, okay, let's go to a motel just to be dry, but we found this site finally, and we tented there, and it worked out well. No one kicked us out. We were fine. Right next to the bike trail was right there, and yeah, had a good night, even though it was a little panicky trying to find an area last minute. But yeah, good sleep, and we packed up. That was our second night, and we had to go all the way back to New York City that morning.
Okay, so I want to go over our biking setup a little bit. Primarily all our luggage is on this vehicle. We have our front panniers, garbage. This is where the 1.5-year-old sits, our tent, a tarp, and then a little pop-up crib for her underneath that tent. And then we have the rear panniers, and then we have the Follow Me Tandem, which unhitches and hitches to let Valen, our 6-year-old, go in and out as he runs out of energy. And inside this bag is pretty much just sleeping bags and 2 Nalgene's, and this one's like all camping mats, camping pillows, and then also 2 Nalgene's. And then in these front bags we have more like food items, baby food pouches and toothbrushes and battery bank, chargers, things like that. Air drying some socks here. So we have the front rack, we have the rear rack, and pretty much this bike is carrying, for our family of 5, everything we need to go camping. The only other bike we have that Sunri is using with our 4-year-old is this one. She has tiny storage here for like wallets and phones and things like that. But primarily we've been able to do everything with this bike. We don't really have much of a change of clothes, just a long sleeve shirt for the boys, and we did bring swimming pants actually, so one of the bags has swimming gear for all of us. And that's pretty much it. That's the setup. Alright, so this is how you unhitch the Follow Me Tandem. Right now he's all hooked up. There's like 8 centimeters of clearance. So to undo it, all you gotta do is loosen this one bolt, loosen these hand bolts, and then pop this guy off, in, and then he's loosened. Okay, so that bike's ready to go. And then this hooks onto here. You take off this cotter pin, and there's a place for here to put it. That's secure. And then I have a carabiner here. And that's it. And then you're good to go. This is off the ground and you can go.
So that was pretty much all our biking mount solutions. We did have one other biking accessory we used, which is called a Towie, which is kind of like a bungee tow rope. And that I used to tow Sunri on some of the bigger hills when she was tired towards the end of the day. It was kind of my backup plan in case the Follow Me Tandem, because I just bought that thing, didn't arrive in time. I was going to use the Towie to drag Valen, my 6-year-old, who's riding right now in this video, when he got tired. He probably rode maybe 40% of the time, and 60% of the time he was hitched. So it was great that I had the Follow Me Tandem. Definitely so much better, I think, than that Towie would have been. Here we're approaching New York City. That's the only staircase that we had. Everything else was smooth, paved trails without cars. Once we got into the city, it was still off the road until you got really close to the George Washington Bridge. Then, you kind of had to maneuver through some city blocks. But overall, pretty safe all in all. We hope this video can give you the confidence to plan your own bike packing adventure. And if we missed anything or you have questions, please leave us a comment below. We'd love if you subscribed. And yeah, good luck. Godspeed.